Hello friends, I'm George, the nice smelling gentleman. Welcome back to the channel guys, I hope that all of you are doing well. Today I'm going to talk about blue fragrances. Now initially the term blue fragrances was used mainly to describe scents that had an aquatic notes in them, but over the years that term has slightly changed, and nowadays when you hear the term blue fragrance you can think of quite a lot of different type of scents. You can think of aquatic scents, you can think of scents that have a shower jelly vibe to them, you can think of scents that have fruity and spicy notes. In general, today when you hear the term blue scents, it means very versatile, very masculine and easy to wear men's fragrances. And that's probably the most, most recognizable and most popular type of men's fragrances. So today I've prepared a list of 12 cheap blue fragrances. I'm going to start off this video with a scent from the brand of fragrance world that's called Jacques Yves L'Infinité, and this one is a clone of Louis Vuitton's L'Immensité. Now I don't know if I'm pronouncing the names of the original fragrances right, but I'm not, I don't speak French, so forgive me for that. But this fragrance is all about the freshness. It opens up very fresh, very bright with a nice amount of ginger, quite a strong ginger note, a nice amount of bergamot freshness as well. On the dry down you get introduced to some spiciness, some woodsy notes, a bit of ambroxan as well, some ambery sweetness. A very likable, very easy to wear scent that's pretty similar to the original fragrance and costs a fraction of the price of the original. My next suggestion comes from the House of Paris Corner and their autobiography series of fragrances. It's one of my newest scents, one of the newest scents in my collection. It's a clone of a Jo Malone fragrance that I've never tried, so I cannot tell you how close it is to the original scent, but this one is called Autobiography Salty Breeze. And it's a very nice aquatic scent. You get a nice amount of aquatic freshness, you get a nice amount of spiciness, there's a nice amount of sweetness from an amber note, there's some fruity sweetness, fruity slash citrusy sweetness from an grapefruit note in here, maybe a hint of something green like a seaweed. Very interesting, very delicate blue scent that's very easy to wear. In my opinion, this is pretty much a perfectly unisex fragrance. Performance so far seems to be very decent for this kind of scent. Projection also pretty decent. I really like the bottle design, it looks really nice and classy, and the only problem with this fragrance is the fact that it only comes in a 65 ml bottle size. The next one that I'm going to show you comes from the brand of Afnan, and it's called Alhur So Intense. And this one is a very interesting mix of two very popular DNAs. The very popular at the moment DNA of Dior Savage Elixir that's mixed with a little bit of Bleu de Chanel vibes. In the opening it leans very heavily to the Dior Savage Elixir side. On the dry down it becomes more split in the middle between Bleu de Chanel and Dior Savage Elixir. Very versatile, very masculine, very likable fragrance that gets compliments, has a very decent performance, around about the 8-hour mark, maybe even over 8 hours, and has a very low price tag. So if that mix of between Dior Savage Elixir and Bleu de Chanel EDP sounds interesting to you, then you can check out Alhur So Intense from the House of Afnan. The next one comes from the House of Homme, and this one is a straight up clone of Bleu de Chanel EDP, and it's called Club de Nuit Iconic. I really like the coloring combination of this bottle. I've said this many times before. This fragrance is really nice and it really works. Of course, quality wise is not as good as the original fragrance. You should not expect that of a fragrance that costs a third of the price of the original. The opening can be a bit harsh for some people, but the dry down gets closer to the original fragrance. It carries a lot of that very famous DNA, it carries a lot of that versatility of the original fragrance. It's another very likable and very easy to wear masculine scent that performance wise beats the original without any problem, both when it comes to longevity and when it comes to projection. Pretty low price tag, and all around I really like Club de Nuit Iconic, and it's probably one of my most favorite, if not my most favorite Homme fragrance. My next suggestion from Homme, Club de Nuit Iconic. My next suggestion again comes from the House of Homme and the Club de Nuit line, but this one is called Club de Nuit Urban Man Elixir. And this is a very interesting mix again of two very popular and different DNAs. On one hand you have the Dior Savage DNA, and then on the other hand we have the Club de Nuit Intense Man EDP DNA slash Creed Aventus DNA. The opening leans very heavily to the side of Dior Savage. On the dry down it becomes a little bit more of an even split between the two, you know, very famous DNAs. On the dry down it becomes a little bit more fruity, very likable, very easy to wear scent that's super versatile, and it's an absolute king when it comes to getting compliments. Super long lasting, cheap, so pretty much you know, a very easy to wear dump rich type of a scent that you can wear pretty much all year round for any type of occasion without breaking the bank, and again with superb performance. My next suggestion comes from the house of Grandeur, and it's called Iconic Nuit par Homme, and this one is a very good clone of YSL La Nuit de l'Homme Blue Electric, and in fact this is the closest clone scent-wise to the original fragrance. You get that very famous DNA of the OG La Nuit de l'Homme, you know, the woodsy, spicy, creamy lavender type of scent profile that has a bit of an added ginger freshness in the opening like the original fragrance has. Very similar to the original scent, both in the opening and on the dry down. It lacks a bit of the performance compared to the original scent, but still it's above, you know, above average performer. It comes really nicely packaged, very good quality of the scent. You get a magnetic cap, really nice presentation all around. As I said, the closest thing to, you know, blue electric that I've tried so far. Now I've covered one of the most famous you know, blue scents in the world right now, and now I'm going to cover one of the other very famous blue scents, the other very famous blue scent. The second very famous blue scent, of course, is none other than you know, Dior Savage, and the first suggestion when it comes to Dior Savage alternative comes from the house of Afnan, and it's called Modeste Un. This one is like an interesting mix between the EDT and the EDP. Maybe the opening is a little bit closer to the EDP because it lacks a bit of the spiciness that you get out of the original Savage. The dry down becomes closer to the EDT. You get the, you know, the expected high quality when it comes to Afnan fragrances. You get very good performance, pretty low price tag, super versatile fragrance, again like the original scent. Hate it to love it, the original is super popular, probably the most popular scent for a good reason, and still to this day it works. It works when it comes to versatility, it works when it comes to compliments, you know, all around it's still a fantastic scent, and Modeste Un is a very high quality clone of the EDT/EDP. The previous one, the Modeste Un from Afnan, was like a mix between the EDT and the EDP, and the next one that I'm going to show you is a straight up clone of the EDP Savage. It comes from the brand of Maison Alhambra, and it's called Salvo Intense. A surprisingly good clone of Dior Savage EDP with a very low price tag. It's really nicely done, surprisingly good quality of the scent, surprisingly close to the original fragrance, and surprisingly good when it comes to performance as well. Not as good of a performer as the original, but still very good performance, especially when you consider what you're paying you know, for this fragrance. It's really nicely done and has a super low price tag. Time to cover another very popular original blue scent, that is YSL EDP, and the alternative that I'm going to show you again comes from the brand of Maison Alhambra, and it's called Simply Yeah. And you know, even bottle wise it's quite close to the original fragrance. The original is very sweet, very fruity, fresh, you know, slightly woody and spicy scent profile. I've never been a huge fan of the original, I've said this many times before, but I know that people like it and it just works as a scent. So whenever I find a good clone of the original fragrance, I'll show it to you. And yeah, from Maison Alhambra, it's actually pretty decent clone. It feels a little bit fresher and a little bit more airy compared to the original scent, but still will get you very close to, you know, to YSL EDP. Performance wise, not as good as the original. This is above average performer, but not as good as the original, but still has a very low price tag, and it's you know, a pretty decent alternative to EDP from YSL. Moving on to another very popular original DNA that comes from the house of Paco Rabanne, and it's called Invictus. And the alternative that I'm going to show you comes from Lattafa, and it's called Hayati, or Hayati Black as some people call it. Pretty similar to the original fragrance. You get that sweet, fruity, bubblegummy type of a scent that has quite a lot of musk, some spiciness, some oods as well. But you know, this one also has a slight sort of an aquatic vibe to it. Can serve as an alternative to something like Rasasi Hawas which nowadays tends to be very, very expensive, unfortunately. Performance here is very good, projection is very good, very low price tag, a very youthful scent that's a little bit more orientated towards the younger guys. Pretty versatile fragrance that probably I wouldn't wear in the office, but apart from that, you can wear this pretty much for any other type of occasion. Next, I'm going to show you a good alternative to yet another very famous great original scent profile. The original is called Acqua di Gio Profumo, and the alternative comes from the brand of Maison Alhambra, and it's called Jorge di Profumo. The original fragrance compared to the OG Acqua di Gio feels a little bit darker, a little bit more woody, and also has sort of an added darkness from a incense note. And Jorge di Profumo is pretty similar to the original. The incense note in here is not as strong as you get with the original, but still, this is very, very similar to the original Acqua di Gio Profumo. Very likable, very easy to wear, very sort of a classic masculine scent. And Maison Alhambra have done, a nice job. Performance here is pretty decent for this type of scent profile. Even the original wasn't known for being a great performer. Low price tag, all in all, a very, very nice alternative to Acqua di Gio Profumo. And the last fragrance that I'm going to show you today will be actually a designer scent, but it's pretty cheap, pretty affordable, at least around here. It comes from the house of Missoni, and it's called Wave. And this thing is a very, very similar scent to Chanel's Allure Homme Sport. It's not a direct clone of Allure Homme Sport, but it's a nice alternative, a fragrance that's been heavily inspired by that original scent. It has a great sprayer and a very, very likable scent profile. It's very fruity, very fresh, citrusy freshness, citrusy fruitiness and sweetness. You get some, sea aquatic notes in here. On the dry down, you get introduced to some musk, to some more ambery sweetness. It's a sort of a green touch as well, some floral touch. Very likable, very easy to wear fragrance that's super versatile, masculine, and at the same time pretty cheap. The only problem with this fragrance is the sort of a lack of performance. It's about average when it comes to performance, but as I said, at least around here to this day, it's still pretty cheap, so you can overspray this one freely. And the best thing out of all is that you're getting a very nice, very strong magnetic cap, and I really like the bottle design and the color combination. My last suggestion in today's video from Missoni, Wave. And so guys, in today's video I tried to quickly show you 12 cheap blue scents that are super versatile and easy to wear. I hope that you found this video interesting. If you did, give it a like, and I also hope that you're going to join me in the next one. And until then, stay safe and bye bye.